Thank you very much. Thank you very much. How often do you say thank you for the tough stuff that happens in your life? And the big one for me is injuries. I've had so many of them in my life. Apart from the fact that I've been physically active all of my life, I chose some really stupid, dumb exercises when I was younger and screwed up all my joints. So I've had some serious injuries, from back injuries, knees, shoulders, elbows, feet, hips, everything. And I love them. I'm really appreciative of all the injuries I've ever had. And every time I get a new injury, I get even more excited. Now, there's two reasons for that. One, I can't change that I have an injury. If I get injured, it wasn't on purpose. It was an accident, and so I have no control over that. But then I've got to recover from it, and what can I learn from it? And I've got an interesting one at the moment, one that I've never had before. I've torn an intercostal in between a couple of my ribs. And it feels like, every time I move, it feels like somebody's either stabbing me in the ribs, ouch, or I've been shot. And it's very, very melodramatic, I get that. But I'm coming at you from a very positive, happy place. Because every time I get injured, it teaches me so much. First of all, about my own anatomy and physiology. And I'm not sure if you've ever done that, but have you ever figured out, okay, why did that happen? Why did I get that injury in that spot? What movement pattern happened, so that I don't get injured in that space again? One of the things I like making mistakes, and I have no challenges with the screw-ups that I make. I just don't want to make them twice. So if I get an injury, I want to make sure that I don't get that same injury again. So what did I do to get that injury? Then, of course, I have to learn all about rehabilitation. And for me, rehabilitation is probably a different headspace to most. Number one, I'm an exercise professional, and I have a gorgeous husband who's a sports person. So there's none of this, have a rest, don't do anything for 6 weeks, or you need to, you need to, how do people put it? You need to rest and recover that. Yes, you do the injury. The injury has to recover. The injury has to rehab. But what happens to the rest of your body if you don't do anything? And it's interesting because a lot of the time I hear this, the doctor told me to have 6 weeks off or 8 weeks off because I've got an injured foot or an injured knee or an injured shoulder. Well, do we understand? I'm not sure that anybody that would make that kind of recommendation has any understanding of how quickly the human body can waste away. Now, a week off probably, or even 2 weeks if you're an elite athlete and you've been training really hard, that's probably a great thing to do because it lets your body regenerate and recover and gives you some actual super compensation time, because it's been suggested by most sports physicians, sports doctors, that most athletes are overtrained. So if you get an injury and you have to have a couple of weeks off, it's usually a good thing, and usually an athlete will come back stronger after a couple of weeks. But the general public who are not fit and strong, and unfortunately that's anywhere between 90 to 95% of people in the world right now, if you have 2 weeks of doing nothing, you can lose up to, you ready for this, up to 1 decade, 10 years of bone mineral density and muscle. The disease is called sarcopenia. Your muscles will waste away really quickly if you don't use them. And I always use that expression, if you don't use it, you'll lose it. But my version of that is, of course, if you use it, you won't lose it. And the double whammy there is, not only does your injury not recover quickly because it hasn't got blood flow and circulation, the rest of your body wastes away, which means it's more likely to get injured. So how can we make sure that we recover quickly from injury? Now, this is not advice about your rehab. I'm just sharing with you that this is what excites me about getting injured. Because I work out, okay, this is the injury. What can I do and what can't I do? And there's a lot of things that you shouldn't do. Would that be fair? Because you don't want to make the injury worse. And I'm very aware of that. So I don't want to add more inflammation, more wearing and tearing, more hurt to the injury. But there's the beautiful thing about the human body, isn't it? If you are injured and it hurts, hurt is good. And that's another reason why I love injury. Because your body will tell you what not to do. Hurt makes us stronger, and every time I move at the moment, I get this, like I said, either someone stabbing me or shooting me, and I've never been shot or stabbed, so I don't even know why I said that, but there's a fairly intense pain that's going through my ribs every time I move. So how do I keep the rest of my body fit, strong, healthy, blood circulating, don't let my muscles waste away, sarcopenia, don't let my bones waste away, osteoporosis, and allowing that injury to heal. So that all takes a headspace of learning and growing, and that's why I love to get injured, because it teaches me so much. So would I plan an injury? Hell no, I'm not that kind of a person. Would I love to have gone through my entire life never being injured? And I'm not sure about that, because I often share this, and I heard this from a top rugby league player in Australia, really good friend of ours his name is Wayne Pearce. He's called Wayne Pearce because that's his name. He said this to me a very long time ago, because rugby league is a really tough sport. And he said, how do our kids get tougher and stronger if they don't get injured? How do we learn those lessons of recovery and mental strength and toughness and getting back up again after being hurt? How do we learn those if we never get hurt? So again, I don't wish injury upon myself. I don't wish injury upon anybody else. But isn't it exciting that our injury can teach us so much and we can learn so much from it? So this new injury that I've got, this torn intercostal or busted intercostal or ripped apart intercostal, I love using words like that, because I love thinking about my body as a high performance machine, and how can I tweak it and tune it and fix it and make sure that it gets tougher and stronger for next time. So when I look around my garden, and I've just done this, and it's a pretty exciting thing for me because I'm a really old lady. I can't now measure how many tons of rock, sand, gravel, dirt I have moved with my own body. So literally with a shovel, a rake, a pick and a wheelbarrow, and my human body picking up rocks, I have moved hundreds now tons of rock and sand, and I have an enormous garden which just keeps getting bigger, and K-Man jokes about it all the time because I'm always looking for where can I expand the garden. And I've done it all myself. Now, of course, that comes with a price. The consequence of that is that I work really hard when I'm in the garden. I pick with 100% effort. I rake with 100% effort. I shovel with 100% effort. I fill my wheelbarrow up probably far too full, and that's why I got injured. So I have to pay the consequence of working really hard. But the exciting thing for that, as I just walked around the garden now, is the reason I'm injured. I obviously have an overuse injury. It's probably from picking or raking. But I'm a very old lady who is capable of doing all of that. And that makes me bloody proud of myself and really excited that we don't have to get old. I know very few people who are as old as I am that would spend 8 hours in the garden. And when I say gardening, I'm talking about raking, picking, shoveling and wheelbarrows full of heavy rocks and picking up heavy rocks. I don't wander around my garden. I phosphate train in my garden. So what that means is I do 10 seconds of intense activity, and then I do an active recovery. So I walk around until I get my breath back, and then I go again really hard. So some days it's 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 hours of phosphate training. People ask me, how do you get endurance fitness, Rowie, from phosphate fitness? So if you only do 10-second bursts of activity, how can you possibly get a lactate fit, aerobically fit? Well, here's a great question to ask. If you're 100% fit and 100% strong, is it possible that you can go and do everything else? Now, I'm not asking you to take my training program on board, or my exercise program on board, or my mental headspace on board, but I don't exercise anymore. I just do intense bursts of physical activity to get puffed and to overload my muscles and bones. And because I'm fit and strong, that then allows me to go and do all the things that I want to do. And sometimes I'm a bit silly and I go too hard and I get injured, and I can't stop that. I can stop that doesn't happen again. So one of the things I'm going to be really aware of now is have a really hard work day and have a few more rest days in between my really hard work days, so that my muscles super compensate, which I understand. But isn't it interesting that sometimes the mechanic doesn't have a car that works effectively, or the hairdresser doesn't get their hair cut very often, or the painter has an unpainted house. So sometimes as humans, and I'm sure, I've certainly done this many times, and I'm sharing with you openly that this is one of those times. I've gone into my garden with passion and enthusiasm and really hard work, and didn't give myself long enough to super compensate, to recover from my hard work out in the garden, and consequently got injured. So I've learned from it. I'm going to grow from it. I'm stronger because of it. Because when you come back from an injury, that's the other really exciting thing. Your body super compensates. It's when you get a blister, and then it turns into a callus. That callus, when you feel it, is really tough skin now. That's your body super compensating. It's saying, well, you screwed around with me. I'm going to make sure that next time you screw around with me, that we're tougher and stronger to be able to handle it. And that's what I love about injury. All the places in my body that I've had injuries are now much stronger than they've ever been, including my really, what was going to be a serious injury where I perforated L4, L5 in my spine. So, and I'll just share, this is it's a really funny, kind of fun. Well, I think it's funny because I can't change it. So if I don't laugh, I cry, so I'm going to laugh. If you have a look at my x-rays of my spine, most people think that I've had a spine fusion because my L4 and 5, there's no space between, there's no vertebral disc. And that's because I perforated that disc at 18 and those bones are sitting on top of each other. I've never had an operation. What I've done is I've strengthened every single muscle, bone, ligament, tendon, joint in my body to make sure that area is protected. And that's one of the things I've learned about injury. I'm not a physiotherapist, and I'm not an osteopath, and I'm not a chiropractor. I'm a passionate exercise professional who loves the human body, loves anatomy and physiology, and I'm constantly learning and growing. And isn't it awesome that we can learn from everything? And I think we can learn a real lot from being injured. Broken bones are fascinating, twisted ankles are fascinating, blown out shoulders are fascinating, because you have to learn what happened, why did it happen, and how can I make sure it doesn't happen again. And that's why I'm always begging as an exercise professional, please learn your anatomy and physiology. If you're a coach, if you're a trainer, if you are responsible for giving out information about keeping the body healthy, would it be, I'm going to say irresponsible if we don't learn our anatomy and physiology, so that we know what causes injury so we can prevent it. And if we do get injured by accident and or overtraining, that we don't do that again. And the worst injuries, of course, are the ones that we should know about, that we cause for ourselves or other people, which is what I shared. I did a lot of stupid exercises when I was young because I didn't learn my anatomy and physiology. So if you put a shearing force across the joint, and then you twist it, you put a shearing force across the joint and then you twist it and you load it and you do it fast, you're going to screw up your joint. And that's exactly what I did. Silly exercises where shearing forces with rotation, with speed, with weight, exercises that if you did them in a workplace or a construction site, you'd get in serious trouble, you'd get sued. But we do them in the gym all the time, and I used to do them when I was younger, and that's why my joints are screwed up, and that's why I've had to learn so much about anatomy and physiology so I don't make the same mistake twice. So if you want to stay healthy, fit and strong for long, there will be accidents. You might drop a weight on your toe. Somebody might run past you in the gym and dislocate your shoulder. There's a whole heap of things that can happen by accident. Wouldn't it be nice to reduce the risk of be fit and strong so that if you do have an accident, your body either doesn't get injured, or if it does get injured, it recovers quickly. And that's a really fun thing to share as well. When you're fit and strong, one of the things that I always say every day, I'm really thankful I've got this injury because I'm going to learn from it. But because I'm fit and strong, I'm going to recover much quicker. Because when you've got blood flow, oxygen supply, nutrient supply, of course you're going to recover much quicker. And that's why I'm never inactive in recovery. So when I've got an injury, every other part of my body will still work. I have to work out, I've got this injury, but what can I still do? And there's two fun ones. This one is interesting because I've never realised how much we use how much your ribs are the movement of your ribs are controlled in everything that you do. So it's been really complicated to do lower body and upper body exercises, because normally if you've got a knee injury, you can still do upper body exercises, and if you've got a shoulder injury, you can still do lower body exercises. And I remember once I had a blown out knee, so I was using the cross trainer with one leg. But I tripped over because of that blown out knee and landed on my elbow, so I had a blown out elbow. Luckily, they were on opposite sides. So I had one leg on the cross trainer working and I had one arm working, and I still got puffed every single day. I'm not a fanatic. I'm sharing with you that if you've got blood flow, oxygen supply, nutrient supply, and happy drugs pumping into your brain, is it possible that you will recover quicker? And of course, the answer is yes. If you get upset, depressed, sad, you become inactive. And then here's another great question. When you've got an injury or when you're sick and you don't do anything for a couple of weeks, what does your body feel like at the end of that 2 weeks? Your body wastes away really quickly. You get weak really quickly. Everything shuts down pretty quickly. And I don't want that to happen. I don't want the rest of my body to waste away because I've got one injury in one spot in my body. So I love injuries. Thank you. Thank you very much for everything that life teaches us by every experience that we have. And thank you for coming to Romax. I love being here every day. I'd love for you to be healthy, fit and strong and stay that way for the rest of your life. If you aren't fit and strong already, please choose that so that our young adults or our future adults have got examples to be inspired by. Please have a career or business that you love. Please, if you need to be or want to be financially free, know that it's very possible because that's the easy one. And we can't control what other people do, but isn't it nice to have great communication skills, that we can have great relationships with all the people in our life and handle the tough relationships? And that's Romax, healthy, fit and strong, career or business that you love, financial freedom and great relationships. I'm here every day because I'd love you to live your life to the max. Super duper doo, how are you? Living my life to the max. Woohoo!